Well, Neil, I'm curious how this conversation went when you told your wife, "Well, dear, I'd like to have you in the movie, but for the most part, you're going to be dead."
Well, Revee's not an actress, and she never wanted to be an actress, but she's been by my side for every step of my career for the last 25 years. So the whole idea of the film was when I was doing this other Western, I hate being away from Revee and the kids. I'm just not myself. Everyone asks why I play such great villains. Put me on the road for a little while, you'll get a villain out of me. But when I was playing when I was playing the hero in The Warrant, playing the heroes, I'm much more emotional and sensitive. And this one day, I was kind of crippled by the thought of what would ever happen to me if something happened to Reve. And then I was looking out in the pastures and I saw these horses. And then all of a sudden, this thought came into my head. And Joe, I'm not this smart because I didn't know anything really about bull riding. I'd seen it, but I'm a hockey player and a baseball player. Those are the sports I played in college and after. So I didn't really know a lot about it. But I've been riding horses since I was a kid. And all of a sudden, this thought came into my head. Rocky on a bull, grandfather has to go back and save his grandson's life by re-entering after 15-year hiatus, go back into riding bulls because he's dying of the same thing that his wife died of. And how this idea came into my head is purely a gift from him above.
Mhm.
And when I had the idea, I said, well, honey, here's a chance for me to actually, for the first time in my career, be the hero of the film and kiss the girl in the end. And she's like, well, that's it. That sounds great. And I said, but here's the catch. As you know, I won't kiss anybody else. So you have to be my wife. And I'm going to write 3 flashback scenes. You don't have to really say anything. You just have to be my wife in the movie. And she's like, I'm not an actress. And I said, well, honey, I can't do the film unless you're the actress. And she said, okay, I'll do it. And Hervé was fantastic in the movie. And that was the driving force for the whole film. And that was the emotional core to the film. And I'm so blessed that Reve said yes, but so blessed that God put that idea in my brain to start with.
Well, now you really have had the rodeo bug bit you hard. It looks like. I mean, you're now what an investor, one of the co-owners for Austin Gamblers.
2 years ago, Joe, I didn't, like I said, I didn't know a whole lot about bull riding, and now but that's kind of my personality. That if I love something, I just immerse myself into it. I'm the kind of guy who goes to a restaurant. If he likes a certain dish, I keep eating that same dish for the next 20 years
Mhm.
because if I love something, I stick with it. And uh, this is something that I just fell in love with the whole PBR world. Sean Gleason, the head of the PBR, is such an incredible guy, and he and his wife Candace have become fast friends. Candace and Reve are just like 2 peas in a pod. So I have immersed myself in the whole world in it. And when I was introduced to the owners of the Austin Gamblers, they said, "We'd love for you to be part of the team." And all my life, I've always wanted to be part of some kind of professional sports team. Never in my wildest dreams did I think it would be bull riding. But I'm so blessed that it is because to me, there's no other sport out there like PBR. You go to a baseball event, you go to a football event, a hockey event, any other event, half of the fans are hating on the other team,
Mhm.
also hating on the other fans, and there's fights and there's people drunk and all kinds of stuff. But you go to a PBR event, it starts with a prayer and it ends with cheers. No matter who it is winning in the end, it's cheers. And everyone in the stands, and it's generally families, fathers, grandfathers, grandmoms, nieces, nephews, anybody, all together rooting on each rider, praying and hoping that they get to 8 seconds and praying and hoping they don't hurt each other. You go to NASCAR or other things, you're hoping for a crash. That's part of that's part of the excitement of it. Or in hockey, you just want to see a fight. But it's different when you go to a PBR event. This is pure Americana, and that's why I love it so much. My dad and my mom are both from Ireland, and when my dad came over from Ireland, went straight into the army office, and they shipped him overseas for 5 years because he wanted to become an American. And since that day, he was the proudest American, and he still instilled all those values of what America really is and the greatness of America into his 6 kids. And now we're instilling that, Reve and I, into our 5 kids. And to be part of that, to be part of the world of PBR, especially in the way that we are now, with the Last Rodeo coming out, which I'm so darn proud of, to be part owner of the Austin Gamblers and to get to know the guys and all the riders and everyone else. And, Clint Atkins, who's become a great friend of ours, who's pushed the Last Rodeo at every event for us. I don't know how I got here. I don't like to overthink it, but God has given me a great blessing and I don't take it for granted.
How extensive a training did you have to go through before the cameras started rolling? I mean, okay, maybe you got a stunt man for some of the bucking and in the middle of the arena, but you actually do have to get on a horse, or excuse me, you have to get on a bull in the pen. I mean, did the thought cross your mind? This is a nice bull now, isn't it?
Nice, nice 2,000 pound beast. Nice boy. Easy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was certainly, I'm a knucklehead. So I love a great challenge and I'm also an athlete. So I love that part of it just as much. But getting, in the pen is one thing, but getting out into the ring, John Avnet refused for me to get out there. What he did do is beat the snot out of me on these mechanical bulls for months, getting ready for it and preparing myself. And I had the good fortune of having Kyle Sherwood, who is an amazing rider himself, as my stunt double and as my teacher. So we would go over. What I didn't want to do is I didn't want anyone in the bull riding world to think that I was faking it, that I didn't know what I was doing. So daily, I'd be working with ropes every day. I'd carry my ropes. I'd be always tying my. I'd be working things, sitting on. I had a saddle in at the hotel that I would sit on on a bull, on this big saddle and just working. Where are my legs? Where are my hands? How do I get the hands up? And Kyle Sherwood was a stickler for every single thing. And then Sean Gleason had this amazing thing called Robo Bull. We were in Tulsa, and he says, we got a mechanical bull that's going to ride you all around the arena. Just don't fall off. I'm like, why? He goes, well, there's a platform underneath. It'll probably bang you up, so don't fall off. Well, that's not possible because I want to look like I'm a rider, so I want to get pushed as far as possible, and of course, fall off. Well, when you fall off on the side of Robobull and smash your shoulders and your head and your arms and your legs against this platform over and over and over, the bruises add up. But for me, I just loved it. I couldn't help myself. That I was like this kid in a candy store of here's this new sport that I'm learning at 58 years old, and really just intensely trying to be the very, very best I could, because I don't want any rider out there saying, "Oh, McDonough didn't do it right." So I think I did it right, and I owe so much to Kyle and to Buddy Joe Hooker, who's also the stunt coordinator on the whole film, making sure that I was working every single day to make sure I got it right.
What surprised you the most as you immersed yourself into the rodeo culture?
How nice the bulls are and how well treated the bulls are. That was, these bulls are like movie stars. You get Manhater, you get any of these other ones. They're massaged. They're fed the best food in the world. They're just treated like they're treated better than actors. It was pretty funny. And then when they get in the ring, they know exactly what they want to do and how smart these bulls are. That after their ride, they know how to go back to the pen. They know how to do it was really incredible. But it's really the culture of I consider myself, since I was a little kid riding horses, a quasi cowboy from Massachusetts. Everyone says, you love this Western world. Why? Well, I'm from Southern Massachusetts. But I just love the cowboy culture. And I was surprised at how much I love the culture, but I was touched at how much, me being a man of faith, how much faith is such a component in the PBR world. To sit before an event with your whole family, hand in hand, saying a prayer, not just for where we are, the good fortunes that we have to be able to see a PBR event, to wish the best for all the riders, but to have blessings for all the servicemen and women who are around the world. That's such a touching thing that you really can't put into words until you go there to an event and you don't hear a pin drop. And it's the most respectful thing that I've ever been part of in any kind of sporting event. And I've been to all of them. It was the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen. That's the way to start a sporting event, and it's touched me and it's moved me and it's changed me.
I talked to the late great actor Fritz Weaver several years ago, and he told me that there was a period in his career where it was either movie, television, doesn't matter, he'd be cast as the bad guy. And one day, his son came home from school and told him that his classmates were razzing him because all they ever saw their father play was a villain. And it's sort of like, he had this moment of epiphany. He actively started searching for, if not the hero, then, maybe the friend of the hero or somebody
Right.
who facilitates what the hero is doing. Uh, have you reached a point like that? I mean, have you been actively looking for, like I said, maybe not the lead hero, but somebody who doesn't shoot at the
I
hero?
always wanted to play the hero. You know, when I came to Hollywood when I was a kid, when I saw The Sting, when I snuck into the theaters with my brother Gerard as a kid, and I saw Paul Newman, say, "Oh, that's really cool. I'd like to be like that guy." And always kind of stuck in my head. And then watching Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, but then watching The Cowboys, which is my favorite film of all time. You know, I always wanted to be those guys, but because I wouldn't do intimate scenes, well, what was my choice after that? I was going to be the best villain that I could possibly be and make a nice living for my 5 kids and my amazing wife, and that was my goal, and it worked, and I think I achieved that. But then I was blessed enough to find this group called Angel Studios, who had faith in me and saw what I wanted to do. I did a little film called The Warrant a few years
Yes.
back for INSP, and that really changed everything. Everyone was like, "Oh, boy, you look good in a cowboy hat. Boy, you understand these characters." Because these are the characters, Joe, that I loved growing up. These are the characters when I'm sitting around, I have a little spare time. If I'm on a treadmill at my house and I have to watch some TV, I'm watching the Cowboys. I'm watching these types of films because those are the ones that really spoke to me as a kid, and they still speak to me now. And now, after The Warrant and The Warrant Part Two, Angel had faith in me to say, "Okay, let's get a good sized budget here. Not a massive budget, $8.5 million. It's a lot for me, who's an independent film guy, and
Mm-hmm.
to build upon it and to produce it and write it with my wife and my partner Derek Presley and the amazing John Avnet, the director who came in and added his touches to the screenplay and made it really sing. That I finally get to play the good guy who kisses the woman in the end. You know, I have 3 daughters. I love that I got to play a villain for all these years because they bring their boyfriends. So I'm like, "Oh, that's your dad." Ooh, I'm and one of my daughters, Catherine, is like, "Dad, can you stop with the villain act because you're scaring these guys?" I'm like, "Well, isn't that my point as a good dad?" So here I
Some
am now.
dads would disagree with you. Some dads would say, "Oh yes, I want my daughter's boyfriends to be a little bit scared of me."
That's right. That's right. But they get it. They understand and they know how protective I am of them. But going back to it, it took a long time for me to get to this point where I'm the hero in the film and I get to kiss the girl in the end. It was a long journey to get here, but it's something that I don't take for granted. I've been really fortunate to have a career that I've got to play so many characters on stage or in movies or in TV or whatever. But now that I get to play in the last few years these heroes, and with Homestead and The Shift and all these great films that I did with Angel, we're building upon that. And I know that the audience they're going to love this film because not only is it a great movie about rodeo. If you love rodeo, you're going to lose your mind with the sequences here. If you've ever been touched with anyone in your family that has had cancer, which is pretty much everyone, you're going to really enjoy the impact of this film. But to me, the and this is what John Avnet really brought into the script. The core of this film is really a film about a fractured relationship between a father and a daughter,
And the
and
idea that
it chokes me up every time I think about it, because I have 3 girls, and what Joe Wainwright went through with his daughter, and to finally make amends and come to a common ground by the end of the film is something that speaks to everyone. Every father has problems with their kids. It's just part of life. There is no such thing as the perfect relationship between parents and children. There isn't. But you try to, and you aspire to that. And what Joe does in this with his daughter is really what I think is the true driving force of this movie. And I'm so proud of it. And that's, I think, something that's been kind of forgotten about in films. It's big, massive action films or really bizarre, quirky films. There hasn't been that straight to the heartland type of film that talks about family values and how you get through family issues. And we did that with a phenomenal backdrop of bull riding. It's fantastic, and I'm more proud of this film than anything I've ever done because yeah, I wrote it, I created it, the idea came into my head. Reve and I helped build the whole thing together. How amazing is that you get to build something like this with your wife and have all the kids work in the stunt department, working craft service, working whatever wardrobe, running stuff all over the place, giving them a one line here, a small background part here, and knowing that mom and dad are working their butts off to do something great and do a film that gives glory to America, gives glory to family, and gives glory to God. And that was our goal, and I think we did it.
I often ask creative people this, particularly people who are involved with movies and TV. What do you think you learned from this experience?
No one's perfect. You can, I consider myself a fairly stoic, tough Irish American guy, and no one is perfect. But it's the human flaws that are so beautiful when you overcome some of them. For me, overcoming drinking 10 years ago was not an easy thing. After all I went through with that thing that happened to me years ago, you know, it was really difficult. And I was, there wasn't a bottle of whiskey that didn't have my name on it for a couple of years. It was really hard. But to come through that on the other side of it, through God's grace and the grace of my wife, I got through it. And it's the human flaws that are beautiful. And when you can see the flaws and overcome those flaws, like Joe Wainwright overcomes his flaws, he's still flawed. Sally, his daughter, still flawed. Everyone's still flawed, but that's what makes us human. That's the beauty of this film, and that's what I love to really kind of delve into, the flaws of humanity, the flaws of these characters, and how they can get through these flaws. And how do they get through these flaws? They generally got through these flaws through faith. And faith got me through my big flaw. And if it weren't for God, I wouldn't be here talking to you, Joe, and talking about the amazing magazine of cowboys and Indians, because I wouldn't. I'd still be suffering. But through his grace and the help of my wife, I got through my human flaws, and now I can talk about it and write about it and act about it. And hopefully people will see this film and see, well, as corny as it might sound, Joe got through that big flaw. Joe and Sally got through their flaws to come around in the end. With my relationship with Charlie, my best friend in the film, who was one of my best friends in real life, Michael T. Williamson, having to overcome the flaws of a friendship going south because of my problems. These are universal issues that we all talk about and live through every day. But to sit there in a cinema and watch it on a big screen and really have it talk to you about, okay, we're all messed up at times, but we can get through this if we have faith. That's what I love. And that's what I think is the driving force also of this film. It's family first, me second, God first, me second. Those are the tenets that we live by in the McDonough family, or at least try to. You can't always. You always make mistakes. We're all sinners. We're all do stupid stuff every day. But it's how you get up the next day and say, you know what? I'm not going to do that today. That's what this film's really about.
Is that the significance of the three fingers?
That's up to whomever, whatever anybody wants to think it is. But in our house, it's the three fingers are "I love you." That's what it's always when I'm on stage or doing a speech someplace and I see my family out there, or there's a camera. Carol Burnett used to have this thing for the thing. For me, it's the three fingers that I put up, or three fingers over my heart, so my family knows that I'm thinking about them. So that was kind of where it all started. And when those three fingers go up in the end, uh, it just means the world to me. And it's a very special kind of inside joke with the McDonough family, but it's not an inside joke anymore. Hopefully more people will use that. Instead of peace, it's love.
Well, finally, first time we chatted a few years ago was for The Warrant.
Yep.
And I have to ask, are we going to get The Warrant 3?
Boy, John Breaker is so me, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's just kind of, especially part two, and we really, Brent Christie's an awesome director, and Gary Wheeler is one of the greatest producers I have ever worked with, and I've worked with some doozies. And Gary is the most hardworking, straight shooting, honest guy that I've worked with, and I hope we do more together. Yes, I would love John Breaker to have 10 more films. There's something about that guy that I just adore, and to produce alongside INSP, which is just an incredible company. Doug Butts and everyone over there, what they do at INSP is pretty spectacular. So yes, I've been asking Doug, when are we going to get Britain? Okay, everyone, here's what you're going to do. When you're reading this magazine, after you're done, go send some emails over to INSP and say, Doug, what are you waiting for? We need more Breaker. So I'm sure we'll be revisiting that again, but I don't know. That's all in INSP's court right now.
Well, thank you for the words, and thank you for this movie. and continued good luck to you, sir.
Great seeing you again, Joe. Thank you, and God bless you.